Alright guys, so today we're going to talk some more about ways to determine that triangles are congruent. We talked already about SSS and SAS, so we're going to talk about three other ones today. And remember, whenever you're doing these, you must have a combination of three corresponding angles and sides to prove that two triangles are congruent. Alright, so the new one we're going to talk about today is angle side angle. Alright, so this is a situation, the exact opposite of side angle side. You've got a side in between two angles instead of an angle between two sides. So for example, let's say we know angle J is the same as angle R, and then we know that side JL is the same as side RT, and we know angle T is the same as angle L. So right here we have an angle that's congruent, a side that's congruent, and then the very next angle congruent, on or angle, side, angle. So in that situation, you know that this triangle is exactly the same as this one. They're congruent, exactly the same size, shape, everything. All right. Another one is angle, angle, side. All right. So maybe we know that angle C is congruent to angle Z, and then we know another angle, angle Y, and B are the same as each other. All right. And then we know the next side over is the same. It's congruent. So we've got an angle, another angle, and then a side right next to the two angles that are congruent. In this situation, we also know these two triangles are exactly the same triangle. All right, so angle, angle, side. They've all got to be in a row. All right, and the last one, okay, this is only for right triangles. It's called hypotenuse leg. So we all know the way to identify the hypotenuse on a triangle. It's the longest side. So right here, if I know that my hypotenuse is the same, and I know that either of the legs are the same, doesn't have to be one or the other, but if I know either of the two legs are the same, right, and it's a right triangle, then I know that this is two congruent. These are two congruent triangles right here. They're exactly the same triangle. Okay, so this is only for right triangles. You say, well, you said that we had to have three things. Well, we do. We've got two sides and we've got an angle that's the same. Okay, so this situation only applies to right triangles, hypotenuse leg on a right triangle. All right? In that situation, we also know the two triangles are congruent. All right, so let's look at a couple of situations that are not true. Okay, so these are times when you have three things, okay, but they're not necessarily congruent. So one example here is you've got angle, angle, angle. Now with angle, 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 they're not necessarily congruent because you could have two triangles that are completely different sizes, right, but have the same angle measures, 30, 120, 30, 30, 120, 30. So these are not congruent just because they have three similar angles. So this is not true. Angle, angle, angle. That's never one that you will use to prove two triangles are congruent. All right. Another one is angle, side, side. Okay, so we got an angle that's the same, a side that's the same, and then the next side is the same. All right, so angle, side, side. You can tell it's a bad word, so we would never do angle, side, side, all right, because it doesn't prove that two triangles are congruent. We don't know they're congruent. They could be, but we don't know that for sure just because an angle, the next side, and the next side are congruent. Okay. Now, we need to be able to identify some parts of these triangles in order to prove congruency using some previous knowledge. So we've done this already with some side, 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 and side, angle, side. But on this one right here, you can see this right here's vertical angles. So because these are vertical, we know that they are congruent to each other. So we can put two lines right there. And now once we know that, that these are congruent, we can say, oh, well, these two triangles must be congruent because angle, angle, side, right? Now, once we identify those as vertical and they're congruent, we know angle, angle, side means that these two triangles are congruent. Okay, over here is another one. So we obviously can tell this side is the same as the side as this side on this triangle. So in this situation, you can use hypotenuse leg. It's a right triangle, right? It's a right triangle. They both have 90-degree angles. the hypotenuse is the same on both triangles, and one of the legs is the same. So you can use hypotenuse leg on that one right there to determine that they are congruent. Right here, you know this side is the same for both triangles. So you can say angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. So you can use that on this one. And then on this one, again, vertical angles. These angles are vertical, so you know this is also 90 degrees. And then you can do hypotenuse leg. You've got a hypotenuse is the same and a leg that's the same. All right, and they're both right triangles, so you can use hypotenuse leg again on this one. So just some situations where you can use prior knowledge to determine some things about the triangles to prove congruency. So right here, let's look at some of these examples and see if the two triangles are congruent, and if they are, how we know. So right here on number 2, we can tell right off the bat they share a side, so this side is congruent for each triangle. Now let's see what we know. We know angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. That's one of our theorems that we can use. So angle, angle, side, we'd say yes, it's congruent by angle, angle, side. So on this one, oh wait, vertical angles. So this is also 90. So we can say, oh, well, the hypotenuse is the same, one of the legs is the same, and they're both right triangles. So this one is yes, they are congruent by hypotenuse leg. All right. And then number 6, they share this side right here. So that side's congruent for both triangles. Angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. So right here we could say yes by angle, side, angle. All right, so our 3 new ones again are hypotenuse leg, okay, hypotenuse leg, angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. Okay, those are the 3 new ones we've got. All right, last slide real quick. So right here we want to figure out what's some additional information that we would need in order to know that these 2 triangles are congruent for the reason that's given. So right here we need to figure out what else do we need to know to be able to say this is congruent by angle, angle, side. All right, well, we see this side is congruent to this side. We know this angle and this angle are congruent because they're vertical. So to do angle, angle, side, we would need to know another angle is congruent. We know one angle on one side, but we need a second angle. Well, which angle? This one or this one? Well, this angle would be angle, side, angle. We need angle, angle, side. So we need to know that angle T is congruent to angle L, because over here we need angle, angle, side. So that's what we would say. We would say we need to know angle T is congruent to angle L. Once we are given that information, we can prove it's congruent by angle, angle, side. Let's look at number 9. Okay, we know these 2 angles are congruent. We also know this angle is congruent to this angle because they're vertical. So to do angle, side, angle, what we need to know? We need to know the side in between the 2 angles. So we would need to know this side is congruent to this side, the side that's in between the 2 angles. So what we would say is we would need to know that JX is congruent to JI. If we knew that, okay, they didn't tell us that, but if we did know that, then we could say it's congruent by angle, side, angle. All right, so there's 3 new ways to prove 2 triangles are congruent. Appreciate your time. Let's go practice.